Hello and welcome to my channel. Thanks for joining me today. My name's Alex, and the topic of my short but very interesting video today is meditation, and in addition to that, also neuroplasticity and intentionality. I want to share some very cool insights with you guys, and I also want to talk a little bit about this book, The Mind and the Brain. So first of all, meditation. If you don't meditate already, I highly recommend that you do. Some people are probably wondering, like, do I think it's a mystical thing or a scientific thing, or what is it? Meditation as a general broad term just means mental exercise, and there's different types of and styles of meditation. There's Zen meditation, mindfulness meditation, there's transcendental meditation. I actually did the transcendental meditation program at McMaster University with a teacher 9 years ago, so I have been regularly meditating for about 9 years, and I am familiar with a lot of different styles. Also, as a martial artist, I was taught Zen meditation. So transcendental meditation, by the way, is basically just means mantra meditation. These are different types of mental exercises that you can do to train your brain, and I highly recommend you do. You don't have to take a mystical approach to this. There's a science behind it, and that's kind of what I want to share with you guys today. There's a lot of stuff that we're either not taught, or we literally have been miseducated in younger, in previous decades, because our understanding of the mind and the body have come so far in just 2 decades. One reason I recommend reading a book like this, again, this is The Mind and the Brain, Neuroplasticity and the Power of Mental Force. This is extremely practical knowledge, but it also gives you an understanding of the constant fighting within academia, and how, like, somebody might think, Alex, if this was true, like, wouldn't we all know about it, or like academia would have well established this? But it doesn't work. Academia doesn't work like that. There's all these vested interests and egos involved. Scientific paradigms never come forward because a previous generation of scientists who claim to be objective are convinced of the data. It doesn't work that way. You have to just wait for the previous generation to die off, basically. And this just goes through like decades worth of like arguments and debates and ignoring like of key research and data on these issues, and why that is. Now, hopefully you caught my last video where I talked about Shakespeare and idealism. This talks a lot about the history of materialism and determinism, which have been really locked into the Western scientific school of thought for a long time. Easterners take it like meditation is a norm in the East, but here in the West there's like a taboo around it, especially like in some Christian religions and stuff like that, which is a serious pity. About even just the personal trainer aspect of me, the fitness guy, is just fascinated by neuroplasticity. So your brain actually, as long as you're using it and learning new things all the time, it's just constantly like reshaping itself, creating new neural networks, new patterns, and new skills, and that's why. And the more you use it like that, it slows aging as well. So if you're learning multiple skills, like a new language, how to play guitar, karate, physical skills, like that is so much exercise for your brain. I can't overstate how good that is for you. A lot of people, I think the insight with aging that a lot of people don't have is that when they get older, they just stop learning new things and stop using their brain, and so it loses its neuroplasticity, and that contributes to why they age so fast. But anyway, this book was written by a researcher with an MD, so a medical doctor, Jeffrey Schwartz, with Sharon Begley. But so he's a medical doctor, but he had a background in Zen Buddhism, because there are spiritual implications to this. Because what he's basically shown is that using intentionality, you can rewire and like fix your own brain from the inside out when there's damage, which shouldn't even be possible. Actually, from the material paradigm of the universe, there's just from a Darwinian model of evolution alone, there's no reason why we should even have the inner world of sentience that we have, especially when somebody like me could just consciously choose not to reproduce, since the entire point of biological life is reproduction. So again, there's a spiritual aspect to this. I would say just consider it your soul. That's the intentional sentient part of you inside. Something that this book talked about was a lot of tragic research done on monkeys, torturing monkeys, because behavioral scientists in the 50s used to get away with a lot of stuff. It's mind-blowing, the disgusting stuff that psychiatrists and scientists did in the name of health and medicine, especially lobotomies and shit like that. But it's a lot of research that was done and then ignored for a long time on monkeys, and then got kind of rediscovered. And I don't believe in animal testing animal torture for the greater good, but there were a lot of monkeys that were tortured to death, and one thing that they found out was like when they damaged limbs, this is the key insight that we were lied to or miseducated about in the 90s and before. If you are forced to not use a limb, like to compensate, like you will naturally be able to do things. So when one arm is impaired, the things that they can learn to do with the other arm is remarkable. But it also works for the brain. And so one way that this applies directly, the researcher, by the way, specialized in OCD and curing OCD with intentionality. But a big insight here is even stroke victims who don't get oxygen to part of their brain, and then their part of their brain dies. What the modern world is not being informed of, although it's established with the data, is that you can, like, if they were forced to use the body in a certain way and the intentionality of their mind in a certain way, they can basically grow back the dead portion of their brain. Just the power of neuroplasticity and what we can do and how we can shape our brain with intentionality is amazing. So again, the thing with meditation is meditative states, the more you do it, the more your brain gets used to doing it and the more effective and efficient it becomes. And it takes time. It's a long-term process, but it's the same as a person in a gym building their biceps with physical exercise. If you are meditating all the time, you are actually developing your brain to the point where, and this is the insight that mystics have, where you will start to like create certain networks and you'll just have subjective inner experiences. And this has been, reported cross-culturally throughout time. So what I'm saying is, rather than make any truth value claims about these things, I think people should just meditate regularly for the health benefits, but also for the sort of spiritual insights that you will just naturally unlock yourself and your own understandings through your own practice. So again, whether it's more of a spiritual pursuit or just an athletic pursuit, both are reasons to meditate regularly. In terms of styles of meditation, again, there's like Zen and there's transcendental and mantra-based things. I can make other videos where I kind of elaborate on the styles, but they're ways of just training your brain to get into certain states more effectively. Now there's a lot of research that I've seen, but it's funded by the Transcendental Meditation Institute, so it's like there's a bias right there. But I have seen a lot of research that shows that there is what's essentially called the TM state, which is like there's different brainwave states that you're in when you're sleeping or dreaming or in normal waking consciousness. There is an actual identifiable physical state called the TM state, which is like, I think, in between alpha and beta. I have to check the exact waves, but it's a brainwave state that's physically halfway between being awake and asleep. And if you get more effective at entering that state, you tend to get a lot of crazy insights, and other stuff just comes to you when you're like that. And if it's coming from God or the collective unconscious or just your own subconscious mind, it's a fun discussion to have. But that's sort of what happens. So in the West, meditation is misunderstood, and a lot of people have a religious bias against it, which I think comes from an institution not wanting people to evolve, because they're control institutions after all, right? And this is the kind of way you facilitate your own internal spiritual growth, is by meditating. Just as a regular thing. And it also physiologically, that's the other thing. The reason you heal so much when you're regularly meditating is because most illness in the body comes from stress, which comes from cortisol buildup. When you go into the meditative state, you're like completely relaxed. It's like being asleep. And so people that are highly stressed and have chronically high cortisol levels, by meditating regularly, would just be putting their body and self into a relaxed state that would be lowering all the damage that the chronic cortisol levels do. So again, there are sort of physiological explanations for all these things, like the healing and all the other things, or you can interpret it spiritually, because your mind and body are connected, and the meditation will have direct subjective experience, like implications for your subjective experiences, as well as your health. So it doesn't matter if you want to look at this as like a health thing or a mystical thing or whatever. It's just beneficial for you to be regularly meditating, to be exercising your brain. It can't hurt you. It literally cannot hurt you. You're under no risk of anything, and it's just really good for the mind. And I believe that we have something that, for lack of a better term, can be called the soul, and with learning how to use it and its intention, it can do wonderful things for your body. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.